Imagine a moment, a single defining moment, when you find yourself standing at the crossroads of your life. You've lived through days, maybe years, imprisoned in a world that wasn't yours. A world where every breath, every thought, every dream was suffocated by the grip of a narcissist. And then you made a choice. You didn't just walk away. You shattered the chains. You closed the door to the darkness, to the lies, the manipulation, the silent wounds that once reigned. But as the echo of that door fades and the silence surrounds you, a question rises in your mind. What's happening on the other side of that door? Inside their fractured soul, what is burning now that you've chosen freedom over submission? I know you've been there. You've felt the suffocating weight of being scrutinized at every turn, of watching your joy twisted to meet their needs, of slowly fading into a shadow of the person you once dreamed of becoming. Maybe it was a word that cut like a knife, a cold, contemptuous glance, or simply the exhaustion that built up day after day that pushed you to the edge. And then you spoke, not with words, but with action. I deserve to live. You walked away, not to prove anything to them, not to claim some shallow victory, but to reclaim yourself, to take back your right to breathe, to exist without being controlled. Yet, as you cross that threshold, as you sever the invisible cord that once bound you, a current of thought begins to stir. What are they feeling now? Do they realize the value of what they've lost? Or are they quietly plotting to draw you back in, to resume the power play they performed so many times before? These questions are not mere passing curiosities. They are doorways into a psychological labyrinth, where truth hides behind masks, where light and shadow intertwine within their soul. Today, I invite you to join me on this journey, a relentless exploration into what truly happens when you walk away from a narcissist. This isn't a simple story of revenge or fleeting satisfaction. This is a deep dissection of their mind, from the moment their fortress of control begins to crumble, to the storms of emotion they conceal, to the calculated strategies they craft to pull you back, and the haunting void they leave behind when all else fails. We'll examine every corner, every crack, every hidden motive, not just so you understand who you walked away from, but so you can see the fire within you that led to this decision, the fire of freedom, of self-respect, of a strength that no one can extinguish. I want you to stay with me, because when this journey ends, you'll not only see more clearly what's going on inside their mind, but you'll also see the path ahead of you. You'll understand why your departure was a fatal blow to their world, why they react the way they do, and why none of it is your burden to carry anymore. If you're searching for light among the ruins they left behind, if you're trying to stand tall after years of control, then this is where you'll find your answers. Let's begin, because this story isn't just about them, it's about you, the extraordinary power within you, and the vast future that's waiting just ahead. A narcissist doesn't just enjoy control. They depend on it. Control isn't a passing habit or a preference they can let go of. It's the lifeblood running through their soul, the very thing that holds their world together. They don't just want to know where you are or what you're thinking. They need it, like someone lost in the desert needs water. Control is the fortress wall, shielding them from fears they won't face, from emptiness they refuse to acknowledge. So when you walk away, you're not just stepping out of their story, you're shaking the very foundation of that wall, exposing the cracks they've spent years trying to hide. Picture their mind as a fortress, solid and imposing, built over time with bricks of manipulation and walls of pride. Inside that fortress, they are royalty, ruling over everything, especially you. You weren't just someone in their life, you were a pillar, a critical support keeping the entire structure from collapse. They needed you to believe you were small, that you depended on them, that your life only had meaning because they allowed it. But when you left, when you pulled that pillar out, the fortress began to sway. Bricks crumbled, walls split, and they were left standing in the rubble of an illusion they once believed was untouchable. Why is control so central to who they are? To understand, we have to look deeper at the origin wounds they never healed. Psychologists tell us that narcissists often carry the scars of a turbulent childhood. Perhaps they were abandoned by a parent, rejected by peers, or made to feel they were never good enough. Maybe they grew up in a home where love had to be earned, where perfection was the price for attention, or where they were pushed aside when they needed connection most. These experiences planted a seed, an obsession that if they couldn't control everything, if they couldn't keep people close, they'd be left behind, forgotten, deemed worthless. But don't be fooled. Their past is not an excuse for what they did to you. It's simply the key to understanding why your departure felt like an earthquake shaking their entire world. When you refused to keep playing your role in their script, when you stood up and said, "I'm done," you didn't just walk away from them. You challenged the entire system they'd built to protect themselves. They didn't just lose you as a person. They lost control of the narrative, lost the ability to shape your feelings, and lost the power to keep you where they wanted you. That's a direct blow to the ego they've constructed through every lie, every dismissive glance, every moment they made you feel like you weren't enough. Think back to those days, the moments they exploded in anger when you did something they didn't approve of. Maybe you just wanted to have dinner with friends and suddenly it became a fight. You were disloyal or selfish. Maybe you asked for a quiet date yourself and they punished you with sarcasm or heavy silence, making you feel like you had committed some unforgivable sin. That wasn't love. It was desperation, a desperate attempt to keep you locked in an invisible cage where they held the only key. But when you walked away, that cage stood empty. They were left holding the key, but with no prisoner, no illusion of power, no one to keep their myth of invincibility alive. This collapse doesn't happen all at once. At first, they may delude themselves into thinking you're not serious, that you're just testing them, that you'll soon come crawling back. They cling to the belief that you can't live without them, that you'll eventually realize your mistake. But as the days pass, as their phone stays silent, as your voice fades from their world, reality starts to seep in. Their fortress doesn't just shake, it crumbles piece by piece, until all that's left is the cold truth they never wanted to face. They can't control you anymore. And from that wreckage, another storm begins to rise, a storm of emotions they can no longer contain, pulling us deeper into the chaotic heart of their fractured psyche. When you walk away from a narcissist, don't expect them to open up or show genuine emotions. They're not the type to sit down, look in the mirror and ask, "What did I do wrong?" Self-reflection isn't part of their makeup. They don't have the tools or the courage to face themselves. Instead, your departure lights a fire within them, a storm of emotion that spirals through 3 stages, fear creeping in like a shadow, rage erupting like a wildfire, and deception glittering like shattered glass. To truly understand them, to grasp what's unfolding inside their mind, we have to enter each of these stages, peel back the layers, and uncover what lies beneath. Deep within the soul of a narcissist lies a fear they never dare to name, the fear of abandonment, of rejection, of being seen as worthless. This isn't the kind of fear you or I might feel in moments of vulnerability. This is a bone-deep obsession, a ghost from a time when they were small and powerless. When you leave, you don't just exit their life, you pull down the curtain hiding that fear, forcing them to face it with no warning. Psychologists call this a narcissistic injury, a blow to their ego that feels like the collapse of their entire world. Picture their mind at this moment. They've constructed a reality where they are the center, where everyone, especially you, exists to reflect their greatness. You were the mirror they looked into to see themselves as powerful, important, irreplaceable. But when you walked away, that mirror shattered, leaving only a gaping void. In the darkest corners of their mind, they begin to ask, not aloud but deep within, if they don't need me, what am I worth? If they can live without me, what does that say about me? It's a question they cannot answer, because to do so would mean admitting to a fragility they've buried for a lifetime. This fear doesn't show up the way you might think. They won't fall to their knees begging you to stay. They won't write long, tear-streaked letters. Instead, it creeps through the cracks in their pride. They may lie awake for hours, haunted by the thought that you are laughing with someone else, that you are finding joy without them, that you've proven they're not the center of the universe they believe themselves to be. It strikes at the core of their belief that they are the one, that no one can walk away from them without regret. Your leaving is a brutal reminder that they can be forgotten, and that is something they cannot bear. But narcissists don't know how to sit with fear. They don't know how to face it or process it like we do. Instead, that fear quickly transforms into fire, a rage so intense it consumes their thoughts like a wildfire. This isn't ordinary anger, it's primal. It's a defense mechanism designed to mask the weakness they refuse to acknowledge. When they can't tolerate the ghost of rejection, they weaponize it, and you become the target. Think back to the moments when they exploded in the past, when you dared to question their behavior or chose something for yourself instead of serving them. Now imagine that rage multiplied 100-fold. When you leave, it breaks all limits. It erupts like lava, pouring out in sharp-edged texts, accusations that you destroyed everything, claims that you're a traitor who never deserved them. They might call just to scream insults, show up at your door with fire in their eyes, or even text your friends, spreading venomous lies. This isn't heartbreak. It's the roar of an ego desperate to reclaim control at any cost. Why do they do this? Because rage is the only way they know to cope with the truth you force them to face. Psychologists call it narcissistic rage, a violent emotional reaction when their ego is threatened. They can't accept that you chose freedom, that you walked out of their cage, that you saw through their mask. They attack to preserve the illusion that they're still powerful, that they can still make you afraid. They want you to hurt, to doubt yourself, to come crawling back so they can resume their dominance. But here's what you need to remember. That fire isn't strength, it's desperation. They cannot undo the fact that you left, and that loss spins them out of control. And then when the rage fails, when you don't fold under the weight of their accusations, when you don't come back with apologies, they pivot to another tactic: deception. This is when you start getting sweet messages dripping with charm, crocodile tears gleaming like gems, promises that everything will be different. "I can't live without you," they might text. "I was wrong, please give me a chance," they may plead over the phone. They might send flowers, write heartfelt letters, or show up with a face full of remorse you've never seen before. But don't be fooled by the glittering light. This isn't sincerity. It's a broken mirror, reflecting only their manipulation. Pause and reflect. If they truly regretted their actions, if they truly valued you, then why didn't they change when they had you? Why did they let you suffer in silence, endure manipulation, and carry wounds they inflicted without a blink of guilt? These apologies aren't about you. They're about them. They don't miss you as a human being with a heart and a soul. They miss the power you gave them, the admiration you used to offer, the feeling of superiority they fed on when you were near. When they say, "I need you," what they really mean is, "I need you to keep fueling my illusion." This is a classic move. They know you have compassion, that you once hoped they could change, that you might still feel a pang of nostalgia, and they will use that to reel you back in. Picture receiving a message: "I just heard our song and I couldn't stop crying." It sounds sincere, but look deeper, it's a hook. A thread carefully spun to tug at your heart, to make you crack open the door you fought so hard to close. This isn't love, it's theater, and you are the audience they desperately want to keep. This storm, fear, rage, deception, is proof of their helplessness. They don't know how to face you like a real human being, can't accept that you left for valid reasons. All they know is emotional chaos and desperate tactics to keep you close. But when none of this works, when you stand firm in the face of their fire and broken glass, they shift to something else. A strategy even more cunning and dangerous, leading us into the next dark corners of their mind. When you walk away from a narcissist, they don't let go easily. They're not the type to accept reality, pack up their emotions and move on like a mature adult who takes accountability. Instead, they reach for the last weapons in their manipulation arsenal: calculated tactics meant either to pull you back in or punish you for daring to leave. These are not random outbursts. They are strategic moves based on their intimate knowledge of your heart, your vulnerabilities, and how you respond to pressure. The two most prominent tactics: sweet seduction designed to lure you back, and cold silence meant to mess with your mind. Let's walk through each of these tactics, uncover the hidden motives, and understand why they're actually the narcissist's final cries for control. After you leave, they may leave you alone for a while, days, weeks, maybe even months, just long enough for you to start breathing again, to feel relief, to believe they've finally let go. But then, like an unexpected gust of wind, they reappear. A simple message lands in your inbox: "I was thinking about you today," or "I miss the days we spent together." They might send an old photo of the two of you, a small gift with a note that says, "Just wanted you to know I still care," or even a casual invitation to meet, just to catch up as friends. But don't be fooled by the gentleness. This isn't a gesture of genuine love. It's bait wrapped in the cloak of sincerity, a strategy psychologists call hoovering. Named after the vacuum cleaner, it's exactly what it sounds like. They're trying to suck you back into their orbit where they can regain control. They don't do this because they love you or because they want to fix what's broken. They do it because they need you to restore the world you disrupted when you walked away. Dig deeper into their motivation. When you left, you inflicted a deep wound to their ego, a cut so raw they can't stand it. But they'll never admit they need you. That would make them feel weak, and weakness is their ultimate fear. So instead, they disguise their desperation with sweetness, with promises that they've changed, that they now see the error of their ways. You might hear things like, "I know I was wrong," or "I'm trying to be a better person because of you." But ask yourself, what have they actually done to prove it? Have they truly sought healing, or are they simply spinning a new web to pull you back in? Picture this. It's been 3 months of silence, and you get a message that says, "I just walked through the park where we used to go, and I couldn't stop thinking about you." It sounds tender, maybe even sincere, but look closer. There's a thread hidden in the words. They're trying to stir your nostalgia, pull on your compassion, make you question whether you were too harsh in leaving. They want you to respond, to crack open the door so they can step back in and reclaim control. This isn't an outstretched hand for reconciliation. It's a trap, and you are the prey they're trying to recapture. But if charm doesn't work, if you don't respond, if you don't take the bait, they switch tactics. They retreat into silence, cutting off all communication, leaving you with a cold, echoing void. No texts, no calls, no signs that you were ever on their mind. But this isn't letting go. It's a weapon, a punishment designed to hit your psyche, to make you feel invisible, unworthy, discarded. In psychology, this is known as the silent treatment, and it's one of the most dangerous tools in their toolbox. Imagine standing in an empty room. You've walked away, you feel strong, you're rebuilding your life. But then, their silence starts to creep in. You wonder, do they really not care? Are they fine without me? Was I ever that important to begin with? This is exactly what they want you to feel. They know you have a heart, that being ignored can hurt, that the absence of a response can make you question everything. This silence is an invitation for you to break it, for you to reach back out, for you to hand them the power you took when you left. Why do they choose this route? Because silence gives them a sense of control without direct confrontation. They can't win you back with words, so they use absence like a blade that cuts into your self-worth, making you wonder if you were ever right to leave. In their mind, if you text first, if you show up with your head down, they've won. They've proven you still need them, that you can't live without them, that they still hold the reins in this relationship. Picture yourself a month after the breakup, still no word from them. You begin to feel free, but then the silence becomes deafening. You wonder if they've moved on to someone else, if they're laughing at your decision. That's the moment they win, when you start to doubt, even without them lifting a finger. But here's the truth you need to hold on to. Their silence is not a sign of strength or indifference. It's a sign of powerlessness. They don't know what else to do to bring you back, so they let you fight a battle within yourself, hoping you'll break first. Whether it's sweet seduction or icy silence, the motive is the same: to reclaim the power you took when you walked away. They're not interested in healing what was broken or building something respectful. They just want you back in your old role. The one where you fed their ego, reflected their greatness, made them feel like the center of everything. In their mind, you're not a person with your own emotions, you're a tool, and when that tool walks away, they'll do anything to get it back. If they truly valued you, why didn't they change when you were still by their side? Why did they let you suffer through control, manipulation, and pain without blinking? The sweet texts, the icy silence, these are not signs of love or growth. They are the cries of a fractured mind that cannot accept that you've moved on, that you chose freedom over submission. So when you face these tactics, stand firm and see them for what they are, because they don't speak to your worth. They expose their emptiness. If every attempt to pull you back fails, if you don't fall for the charm, if you don't break under the silence, if you don't return with your head bowed, then brace yourself. A narcissist doesn't stop there. They descend into a darker corner of their psyche, where manipulation turns into destruction. This is when they no longer just try to control you, they try to erase you. Not physically, but emotionally, socially, and psychologically. Smear campaigns and revenge become their final weapons. And to understand them, we must step into that shadow, uncover why they choose this path, and why it is their ultimate confession of defeat. When you stand firm against all their efforts, you become a threat they cannot tolerate. Your departure isn't just an exit, it's a public humiliation, a deep cut into the carefully constructed ego they've spent years building. They can't accept that you left and continued living well. It contradicts everything they believe about themselves. So, rather than face the truth, they choose to rewrite the story, not to heal, but to destroy. They begin spreading lies about you, painting you as the villain to anyone who will listen. Imagine them sitting down with a mutual friend and saying, "She left me for no reason. She's cold, selfish, and never cared about anyone but herself." Or they post a vague status on social media, "I've finally learned how to see through the fake ones." They might take small moments from the past, a disagreement, a time you set a boundary, and inflate them into unforgivable sins. They may even fabricate entire stories claiming you betrayed or cheated on them, just to turn people against you. This isn't an attempt to share the truth, it's a campaign to dim your light, to make themselves feel powerful by tearing you down. Why do they do this? Because, in their mind, if they can't have you, they'll make sure no one else wants you. No friends, no family, no one. They want to isolate you, sever your connections, make you feel like there's nowhere to go but back to them. Psychologists call this a smear campaign, a pathological reaction born from deep ego injury. They would rather burn your reputation to the ground than admit that you left for valid reasons, that you saw through their illusion. But sometimes even that's not enough. If words don't hurt you deeply enough, they escalate to actions. Revenge becomes the final act in their storm of fury. They might try to sabotage your job, sending false accusations to your boss, or spread rumors within your professional circles. They may target your personal relationships, reaching out to your family with twisted stories, or even attempt to damage you financially or materially, destroying something you love, or exposing private information you once trusted them with. Imagine finding out they told your friends you were selfish, that you mistreated them the entire time. A complete fabrication, but enough to make some people doubt you. Or worse, they show up at your workplace and cause a scene, trying to embarrass you. This isn't a fleeting outburst, it's a calculated attack, designed to make you pay for choosing freedom over submission. Why do they go this far? Because revenge is the last way they know how to reclaim the sense of power you took from them. When you walked away, you proved they could no longer control you. And that's something their ego simply cannot tolerate. They must feel like they still have power, like they can still hurt you, even if it means using the lowest, dirtiest methods. In their mind, if they can't pull you back in, they'll make you bleed. because pain is the only language they have left to prove that you're still connected to them, that you still belong to their world. But here's what you must hold on to. Smear campaigns and revenge are not signs of power. They are desperate admissions of defeat. They can't change the truth, that you left, that you chose light over their darkness, that you stood up and reclaimed your life. The lies they spread, the damage they attempt, these are the final cries of a mind with nothing left to lose, a mind that can no longer survive without you as the mirror reflecting their greatness. They've lost, not because you beat them, but because they cannot survive the truth that you no longer need them. Think about it. If they were truly strong, as they've always claimed to be, if they were truly confident, as they love to boast, then why would they need to hurt you? Why can't they simply move on, find someone else to manipulate and leave you in peace? The answer is crystal clear. They can't. You weren't just a person in their life. You were a key piece in their self-delusion. When you walked away, you took that piece with you, and now they'll do anything to fill the void, even if that means destroying you. But you are not the victim of their darkness. No matter what they say, no matter what they do, your light doesn't live in their lies or in their actions. It lives in the way you stood tall, in the people who truly know you, in the fire that led you out of their shadow. Don't let the scars they tried to leave define you. They are nothing more than fading echoes of a past you've outgrown, of a person who no longer holds any power over your life. When you walk away from a narcissist, you're not just closing a chapter in the book of your life. You're opening a new one. A chapter where you hold the pen. You are the main character, and you shape your own destiny. Everything that happened behind the door you closed, the crumbling of their fortress, the emotional storms within them, the manipulative strategies they unleashed, and the darkness of their attempted destruction, none of that is your burden to carry anymore. You have broken the chains that once bound you, stepped out of the shadows that once consumed you, and chosen a path they can no longer reach. This is not a small victory to boast about. It is a declaration of your worth, your right to live freely, and a power no one can ever extinguish. Let's look back on the journey we've taken. When you left, their fortress of control shook. The walls of pride cracked, leaving them exposed in the ruins of their illusion. From that collapse, an emotional storm erupted, fear creeping in like a ghost, rage burning like fire, and deception shimmering like broken glass. All of it a desperate attempt to keep you within reach. When that didn't work, they turned to subtler tactics. Sweet seduction to lure you back, cold silence to punish you. But you stood strong, and when every door slammed shut in their face, they slipped into darkness, trying to destroy you with lies and vengeance. But all of it pointed to one undeniable truth. You were right to walk away. You chose light, and they could no longer drag you back into the dark. This is your victory, not because you defeated them, but because you chose yourself. In a country like America, where we celebrate freedom, where we honor those who rise from ashes to rebuild, your act of leaving is the embodiment of those values. You refused to be a puppet in their performance. You refused to let them define who you are. You refused to live a life that wasn't your own. They may never change. Self-awareness and growth are out of their reach, but that no longer matters. You don't need their transformation to move forward. You don't need their validation to know your strength. You don't need their permission to live the life you were always meant to live. Think back to the days you felt trapped, the moments you doubted yourself, the times you wondered if you were brave enough to leave. And then you did. You faced your fear. You crossed the threshold to freedom, and you proved that you are stronger than they ever led you to believe. What happened to them after that? The chaos, the manipulation, the retaliation is the result of their choices, not yours. They may continue to growl from the shadows, to swing their feeble weapons, but they can never take away what you've claimed, the right to live true to yourself. You're not alone on this path. Millions have stood where you are, people who walked away, who weathered the backlash, and who found light on the other side. If you're struggling with your decision, if you're feeling the weight of what they've left behind, know this: you carry the strength to overcome. Share your story with us so we can listen, lift each other up, and build a community of souls who chose light over darkness. And if you need more strength to keep going, stay with me, because this isn't the end. It's the beginning of the life you deserve. Stand tall, move forward. You've left the shadows. Now it's time to shine, to heal, to become the fullest, brightest version of yourself. They may have tried to extinguish your flame, but they failed, because you're still here, unshaken, radiant. And that's all that matters.